Today's episode is sponsored by Melissa Flick's Author Services. Do you write for a living and get frustrated with trying to do it all? Well, you don't have to. Melissa Flick's offers a wide range of affordable services ranging from book management to administrative tasks. Go to melissaflix.com, click contact to get started. Remember to put too many words in the subject line. Simplify your life so you have more time to write. Let's do the show. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Jamie Bedingfield. You are listening to Too Many Words, my podcast, the place for the creative and the more than slightly odd. If you are new, welcome. Hope you stick around. If you are a regular listener, you rock. I have the kick-ass author, Oli Jacobs, on the show today. Had an awesome time chatting with him. It's always nice to talk to a fellow writer who shares some of my quirks and familiarity with the darker side of things. Definitely funny. You should go to Amazon and check out his books. Kirk Sandblaster series is something that I'm embarking on my end, and some brilliant storytelling. And I think in order to have humor, in general, one needs to be in touch with reality, meaning the darker side of things. And my mood today is certainly on the darker side. How are things by you? I can't say things are bad. I'm just in a mood, I guess. I spent the weekend loafing on the sofa with just awful bug, chest congestion, body ache, foggy brain. I did some good reading and binge watching. Walking Dead Season 6 is on Netflix, so I got to alter my perspective on reality by spending too many consecutive hours with Rick Grimes. Convinced I was a zombie for a second, then I remembered I took NyQuil. I hate getting sick. I hate how it messes with my plans and my fun. I hate not doing things that I want to do because I'm sick. Part of the fall is football. It's a football season. Sunday carries certain expectations of early day drinking and fried foods. And I had neither this Sunday. I just watched the Seahawks lose a terrible game in a ball of congestion on the love seat that is white because I bought a white love seat, not thinking about the 200 pounds of dog I have that has black hair. So there I was, covered in dog hair, feeling sorry for myself. Yes, so we're clear, I'm whining about not being able to drink while watching football this Sunday. Humans are routine creatures, no matter how unhealthy or unproductive the routine is. Monday was a gem of a writing day, though, I gotta say. I climbed right into my dystopian universe. It's amazing. Everything with this story is going so well. Granted, I've been writing the story for a crazy long time in one form or another. So maybe that's everything. It's just clicking and easy. I I see all of it clearly there with no dark spots. If I'm being honest, this is the first time where I have had not only the entire arc, but the knowledge of how it's all going to happen and play out and all the separate weaving character arcs. And sure, sometimes I have the what and not the why, or that swapped around. And of course, my critiquing, nagging mind asks, why is it so easy, Jamie? Is it really easy? Are you fooling yourself? What's going on? And then my inner doubt bitch comes in and says, it's not good, it's garbage. That's why it's going so fast because it's riddled with holes and shallow. Either way, I'm having fun and it's going well, and my hopes for its success are high. I'm falling in love with every detail of it as I write it. And Slippers, it's like that. And on the other hand, I have the Shadow Bearers, which it takes up as much time and focus as the dystopian series, and it's so fun to collaborate and flex my high fantasy muscles. Even the land itself, it's riddled with impending shadows. It's a fun, magical place that I enjoy visiting and thinking about. So, and the years of fantasy RPGs works for me here, I suppose. Yes, so things are going well. We as a family are in a routine. I'm doing a better job balancing my priorities, not something that comes natural to me, I'm finding. And I had another test on that last week when I decided my kids wouldn't be taking the bus. I did change my schedule around. I am a crazy mom, is the real reason. But my kids were telling me about this fourth grader hitting people with books, and my daughter told me a sixth grader told her that being drunk and high are the same thing. Side note, they aren't. But I just decided to simplify some things. I can't control what happens at recess or what happens in the classroom. There that's going to happen. But I can take the bus out, so I moved my schedule around, and I realize that this is life, and one day she'll know all about that stuff. And jerks are everywhere. I felt like this was just one thing that we could avoid. So I'm driving them, and they love it. And I'm a helicopter parent. What are you going to do? And call it the pendulum swinging. And it's so crazy to me how rude people are. And I'm having trouble not focusing on it, and it's weird because I can be in this quiet mindset in my office, writing happily about bark skin creatures that live underground. And then I leave my house and I'm instantly frustrated and angry, and it's weird. And I tell myself, like, not to be like that sometimes, and don't get worked up. And people are going to do what they're going to do, and sometimes it works. Other times, there are mothers sitting right on top of the taekwondo class taking place, talking loudly about recipes and who said what while wearing something, and while their younger kids who aren't in the class run in the parking lot, making lots of noise, and all of which interrupts the training in the class that's going on. And it hurts my head because the whole thing is about respect. It's one of those things when you think about it too long, it's just like you hear like a pop or a ping. Disrespectful parents is just such a hot button because you see it channel directly down to their disrespectful children, and you're like, oh, you all are such a big part of the problem. But being shitty spreads the shitty. And it's not the most eloquent thing I've ever said, but you get me, right? So I suppose that you've just listened to one big rant because I'm moody and I'm obsessed with finishing these two books and making something out of them. Maybe a feather in my cap. People frustrate me. Or mostly because I woke up too damn early this morning to my dog puking, which I then stepped in. Life is life. But before I go on about my neighbor's dog that still shits on my lawn every day, or how this one character, Imogen, in my dystopian series is in my dreams every night, I'm going to go to my talk with the awesome Oli Jacobs after this note. Hey, Oli, how's it going?
Hello. Not too bad. It's very overcast here in jolly old England. The summer seems to have finally gone, but given climate change and all that, it'll probably come back next week. So
Yeah, we're having uh actually we have sun today in Seattle, but it has been overcast and more like fall, which is
from
nice. I like it overcast.
from what I know of Seattle, and that is probably limited mostly to the sitcom Frasier. It's a similar climate to us. You kind of have, there's that nice little sunshine period, and then it's just rain. But I could be wrong.
No, you're pretty accurate there. I mean, most of our rain is just drizzle.
Yeah.
It's really only in the winter when it really starts to come down. But yeah, and then we have those sunny days where it's like not usually too hot, but pretty
Yeah, that
perfect.
does sound painfully familiar. I mean,
Yep.
we've recently had a heat wave over here where obviously every Brit has stepped out in a coat and promptly melted. So the pavements are actually covered with um, bankers and people with bowler hats and bad teeth, as is the British stereotype. So
Well,
it's a terrible time over here. It's actually very upsetting, but I'm putting a brave face on regardless.
what's going on with all that?
Um, I don't know. I'm fairly ignorant. By the way, I will apologise now. I do have a habit of going on non sequeturs sometimes, so
That's perfect.
you might have to reel me back. Literally, get one of those giant vaudeville hooks and just just yank. And,
Or I'll just
be
let
like,
you
"Oh,
go.
yeah."
It'll be a good show.
It's like, on point, Jacobs. It's like, no, I don't care about that point anymore. It's not bright and colourful and fluffy. I'm going over here now, where there's seals. Or is it the singer seal? I don't know. Maybe it's the same thing. Who knows? Anyway, yes.
Touched by a Rose.
Written and lovely stuff. It's, veering towards writing and the art of and such, I always try and stay clear of hot button topics.
Yeah.
Because I find that as soon as you start getting into them on social media, that's it. You're just entering a maelstrom of
craziness. No, it's I do the same thing because it's just it's intense. It's an intense world.
There was an interesting web cartoon I saw a while back. I can't remember who did it, unfortunately, but it was equating Twitter to a bar. And how it was at the first, you go in there and there's somebody you know, so you kind of get chatting to them, and it's like you're talking about a subject. So let's say writing. It's like, oh yes, writing is lovely. Writing is very lovely. Somebody across the bar, hey, I like writing too. Hey, joining our conversation. Then somebody else nearby going, I like what they're saying about writing, but I'm not going to join in their conversation yet. And then eventually, the cartoon more and more people get into this bar, and it's just descends into people shouting, "Look at my writing! Writing!" Actually, I think it's about ethics in games journalism. What? So you eventually just leave the bar because you're like, this is just noise now. There is nothing here. So that's kind of my thoughts on social media. Like, again, I've gone for the hot button topic straight away. What's your thoughts on social media?
Well, it's well, and in order to it's part of having a presence. It supposedly helps selling books and reaching out to readers and that sort of thing. But it's just a lot of noise. And it
is. It's like you're in a crowd of people and you're trying to see who can shout the loudest
and the most clever.
Sorry?
And the most clever.
Oh yeah. I mean, one of the things I noticed because I used to have a personal Twitter account, but then I kind of moved towards a more writing orientated one, which ended up morphing into a personal account again. But one thing I noticed was there are a lot of writers on Twitter, and their Twitter account is literally just spam links to their books.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing about them. It's just buy my latest book, A Cricket in Pain. That's a terrible title for a book, which I'm obviously going to steal for the future. But
I was going to say that I don't know. I like the title.
I think actually, although Cricket in Pain kind of then makes me think of it's like a 50 Shades of Grey, but with Jim from Pinocchio, and that's when you get into a state which is so very, very wrong.
See, I don't know. I was picturing a talking cat.
Actually,
be friends with Cricket.
Yeah, I think take the word pain out there because again, there's so many connotations with that in today's literary world.
Yes,
that you're probably going to get a 3-picture deal out of it. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead with that and make that my next book.
But it's a tough balance, because you have that, that presence on social media, kind of to support your writing. And there is at least I struggle with it, especially with this contest that I have my one book in, is that it's a fine line between spamming and then just telling people, like making sure the people that you want to know.
Well, that's the thing. It is kind of trying to get your content out there without seeming like you're begging, effectively. I mean, there was a little in-joke between me and my friends where all I would literally say is buy my books. And that became it. Thankfully, it became an in-joke, so it became one of those things where if it is mentioned, it's kind of like, ha, 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 yeah, Ollie, buy my books. I'm like, yeah, buy my books, he says with a cold death stare. All seriousness. Like, yeah, Ollie, we'll buy your books. Like, no, please do. The wolves are at old Oli J's door. It's, but yeah, I like to say, I think there's a few Twitter authors on Twitter, Jason Arnott, Chuck Wendig, people like that, and
Richard Cadry is another. He has a great account.
Oh yeah,
mm-hmm.
I will have to you have to give me the Twitter address.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but there's, like I say, there's loads of authors on there who are absolutely fantastic, and use the medium well. And I think that's the key thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when it comes to marketing, I'm terrible. It's my Achilles heel.
I'm right there with you on that one.
Yeah, I just can't do it. I mean, you had Dane Cobain on your podcast recently.
Yep.
And that guy is a marketing machine. He's I look at him with very jealous eyes and go, how do you do this? How would you be this? You know, book bloggers and reviewers and people getting people interested. Whereas I like I say, I get so focused on the writing that when it comes to selling it, I don't know. I because I'm not very good at it. I won't say so bad because then that sounds very maudlin, which I am prone to do. So that's another thing they'll probably crop up at some point. Doom, gloom, and other writerly type things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all writers are horribly depressed sociopaths.
That's what I tell myself.
Oh yeah. Oh, schizophrenics as well. You have to be when you've got so many characters in your head.
And worlds and all sorts of crazy problems. It just all pops up.
Oh yeah, I mean that's how you write.
Yeah,
that's how writing exists. If you're mentally balanced and full of joy and wonder, then bugger off. Quite frankly, because your stories are probably going to be rubbish.
Yeah.
No, they're probably going to be great because you're a well-adjusted human being. But then again, good for you. But yeah, sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, but when like I say, because I'm not great at marketing, I'll publish the book. I'll send out the odd link or two, but then I'm kind of like, it's not getting traction. I'm no good at this. I'm going to just give up on it and go start writing something else. So it's something that I'm working on, but it is something that I find, especially with, self-published authors, it is quite a big. It's the difference between selling one book and selling 50. I find.
No, definitely, but it's all in it. It's a whole job all in itself. Is just figuring out because also if you're going to go through this is what loses me is you go ahead and you're trying to push whatever it is. You have to pay attention to what you're doing, whether something's working, if something isn't working, and it's just like you know what, I would rather just write about a dragon and
exactly. It's when it becomes work that. It's that old. It's almost like I'm going to paraphrase it because my memory is awful. But there's an old adage about when a hobby becomes work, that's when it stops being fun, or something like that. And I think that's definitely the case with writing, and definitely the case which I found, especially this year where I've been trying to really push my writing, and you get in such a horrible mind state. Where you're looking up algorithms and you're looking up when's the best time to send out a tweet or how do I get boost Facebook posts, and you get so bogged down in this you forget to go, well, I want to write a story about a space adventurer in the Wild West. Well, I want to do that instead. I don't want to kind of think about my market reach.
Well, for me too, it actually, it hurts my creativity. So, if I start the day and I'm, for whatever reason, I get sucked into the computer and I'm marketing and stuff and clicking on stuff and I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. And then, I go to finally write and I'm either, pretty much, stressed out because it's what? I spent 4 hours doing that. Now I only have, this much time. Or it's just, my mind's already in that spot where it's hard for me to then switch over to writing. And I don't know how you are, but with me, if I don't write, I kind of feel terrible. So I need to get that. I've been trying to do that first and then go into the other stuff.
Well, I'm going to sound completely evil here when I say, thank God that I'm hearing the same things out of another writer because you always feel like you're the only one. It's like, I'm not, especially again with social media, you see all these fellow writers, they're writing, they're doing stuff, and it's fantastic. And you're just kind of there looking at an empty Word document with your fingers above the keys, kind of going,
Yeah.
And then, you feel terrible for not writing anything. Procrastination is a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I need to kind of like just surf the web for hours before I can actually write something.
Yeah.
I mean, another good writer on Twitter is Matt Haig. I don't know if you...
No.
He's a British author. He did... what was the book? I'm going to just keep going in a huge way while I actually go on Amazon on my phone and try and find the title. I think The Humans was one. One of his, and he did one recently called Reasons to Stay Alive, which is I started reading The Humans. It was quite good, but Reasons to Stay Alive, I've heard many great things about it. I think when I have money again, which as a writer will be 2018. But yeah, he's great on Twitter. He does the same things. I think he did a tweet recently where it's like how to be a writer. It's like 1, open a Word document; 2, stare out the window; 3, contemplate life in all its misadventures; 4, have a coffee. And it's just like, yes, that's what writing is.
Mm-hmm.
But it is refreshing to kind of hear that it's not just yourself who kind of has that basic creative anxiety, I would say, where you are just you because I think it was many authors have said it might be Neil Gaiman or Stephen King was like, you've got to write 1,000 words a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that to heart. I'm like, I've got to write 1,000 words a day. And then when I don't write anything, like I say, I feel shitty. I feel like I failed, and then that burdens on the already pre-existing anxiety and depression, and it just goes from there. But then there's moments like today, which was, like I said, I was listening to the podcast earlier, and just listening to people talking about writing and being creative, such as yourself. It made me kind of, you get that itch.
That's awesome.
You get the itch, and then suddenly you're just there, and you're kind of like, you're twitching, and your better half kind of goes, "Are you all right?" It's like, I need words.
Yeah.
I need to create words.
Well, then,
and like I say, I'm on a kick at the moment where I've got so many unfinished projects, and I'm just determined to finish them. And the only problem with that is then I came up with a new project, so now I'm working on that.
Well, I have my hands in so much right now too, and it sounds like we're in similar spots. I'm about this whole past year I've been, making that extra push and all that stuff, and I need the extra projects. Like, I can't just work on one thing. It helps because, like, let's say like I get bogged down in one story, instead of not writing, I can then jump to another story.
I actually have difficulty doing that, if I'm honest. I need to kind of focus on one story at a time. Otherwise, I think that's why I've got so many unfinished projects, because I need to be in a certain mind state for the characters. I mean, I get people such as yourself who can like swap projects. In fact, I'm very jealous of you people. But yeah, I tend to like get very blinkered into one story. So the story that I'm writing at the moment, I need to do that until it's finished. Hopefully when I go back to the other ones I've started, I need to finish them. Otherwise I'll kind of drift away from them and go, la 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 la, this looks interesting. It's
yeah.
It's kind of a weird kind of I can't remember the like Asperger's thing where you kind of, I think it is, where you're just easily distracted. Magpie thing.
Yes.
Like shiny things. Ooh, lovely.
Well, then I feel that, I mean, like yesterday, I had I'm really quite pleased with my put out as far as how many words I put out, but I just only worked on one project when I actually needed to do other things. I was so focused, and it's like, well, the story's literally falling out of me, so I'm not going to do something else.
I find when that happens, I mean, some people ask me, because I'm quite, well, people have said, I hate to be one of these people who go, well, I'm this or I'm that. That's a whole rant for another moment. I am prone to rant. I'm just revealing all my character flaws today. It's fantastic. Yeah, oh god, I was making a point. Now. This is the problem when your mind basically goes from several. This is what I mean by the magpie thing.
Yes.
I'll start
No,
one
it happens
place.
to me too, constantly
Yeah.
in conversation and work. It's just, yeah.
You're gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I mean, for me, there's I've basically got a list of ideas. So if I come up with an idea for something, I'll be kind of like, oh, that's good. I'll write that down and maybe go back to it later. So I've got this Word document full of like novel ideas, short story ideas that I will come back to. But then, of course, you end up kind of thinking of something else and getting very interested in that. So, but it's fun. I mean, as I've said to people, it's like writing is one of those absolutely wonderful things you can do, and also the absolute worst thing you can do.
It's like it's like a curse and a gift at the same time.
Oh, it's awful, but ouch, don't never. But I remember what he's saying about it, when it's easy, and I say to people when they are, because that was it. I'm been called fairly prolific because I started releasing books in 2012, and since then I think I've released 13 or 14 books or stories or whatever.
Yeah, well, I actually have in my notes that you're very prolific. I noticed that too. I was like, wow.
It's a case of, like you say, when it's easy, it just flows so well. And I have periods where I think I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were asked to do 10,000 words, and I kind of went, well, on a bad day, maybe a week, 2 weeks. On a good day, 5 hours. And
yep.
It's that thing. It's like, look, if it's easy, then the words don't matter. It's if you're telling the story, it will just come and flow out. But I'm very much a perfectionist in that if it doesn't do that, then I don't want to do it.
It's hard to, when you're grinding out after every sentence, it sucks. So it
does. Oh, it's terrible. And there's that annoying block in that you can actually hear the words and the sentences, and this is why I say that writers are schizophrenic. You can hear the words and the sentences in your mind. You're literally almost silently reciting them to yourself, and yet when it comes to transferring those words to your fingertips, so they go into the keys and go onto the document, it just doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. It's you're just there, kind of going, let me go on Facebook again, let me go on Twitter again, and oh god, that's a terrible loop in itself. But
oh, I know. Well, and I get caught in that loop too. And it's weird when you have, because I mean, I'll have the ideas in my head, and then I'll go to write them down, and it's like, just blinking cursor.
Oh yeah. Or you write it down, you suddenly go, this is terrible.
Yeah.
This sounded so good in my head. Why is it now trash?
Well, and then let me ask you this, because when I I'll have worked on something, if it's an idea or if it's a full chapter or whatever, and I'll read it and I'll feel like, it's just garbage and I want to throw it out. But then I ask myself, like, is it actually garbage? Do I just need to walk away from it? Is it my perspective? Inner critic? It's hard to tell if, like, at least for me, like, if I'm my own, like, honest judgment. Like,
I have a general rule about my writing, and this probably goes in with the prolific nature as well. In the if I finish something, I won't look at it for at least 6 to 8 months.
Wow.
I will save it, I will file it, and that is it. I mean, I've got, on my hard drive, I've actually got 2 proper novel-length books. I think one's 90,000 words, the other's 110. And they're finished, they're done, but they're not checked, as it were. I wouldn't release them now because they're still in those early stages.
Right.
But I actually learned this when I did my novella Underneath, and I was a bit cocky. If I was at early stages of writing, I think it was after I published Sunshine and Lollipops, which was the first Filmic Cuts short story collection. So I finished underneath. Written it, perfectly happy with it, and I decided to edit it straight after. I was thinking, I'll go back and I could do it now. It's fine. Oh, the errors. Oh God, it's a rookie mistake.
Yeah. Well, and
Editing your work as soon as you've done it.
Yeah, that's something that I've learned the hard way as well. That giving giving yourself the time. Like, and I'll even because I would have just the habit of just reading what I just wrote. And it's like, no, I can do that another day.
I mean, a great percentage of the editing, I feel, actually happens while you're writing the story, and that you are you'll say these sentences and you go, actually, that doesn't work, or I'm repeating that word there, so I'll edit that. I mean, I've got a couple of proofreaders who I'll give the finished manuscript to them, and I'll go, right, the only three things I need are spelling, grammar, continuity. Go for that. Because I've had proofreaders. It's tricky with proofreaders. I would say you have to find somebody who works for you. Because I've had some who, and this is something that does irk me as a writer, in that they'll almost rewrite it for you, and it's a case of, well, first of all, I appreciate that, but I don't know if you're going to grasp the story how I've got it. And I have had suggestions where it's like, okay, that's totally not the character. So, which is why when I say to people who proofread my books, like, look, I just need spelling, grammar, continuity.
Yeah.
If something doesn't make sense, point it out to me, then I can tidy that up. It's when they go, well, I think your character says this, but what I think they should say is da da da, and it's like, no, why would they say that?
Yeah.
What's wrong? Do you want to write the book? Again, it's that kind of ego paranoia thing that I think most writers have. At least I hope so. Like I say, if this is where I expose myself as utterly insane.
No, my ego is a tricky bitch to manage.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. I mean, it's the most fragile thing in the world, but it's also the most...
Yeah.
It's like it's a giant made of glass.
I like that. It is.
Ego is a giant. The average ego is a giant made of glass, in that it's huge and it's conquering, but all you need to do is hit it hard enough and it collapses.
Yeah, totally. That's perfect.
Yeah, like I say, I would say feel free to steal that, but I'm actually typing it into my notes as we speak. Like, giant glass. And of course, I'll look at that later on and think, why the hell would I put a giant pint glass in something? It makes no sense. Was I drunk? I think I was drunk. Am I drunk now? But yeah. And people ask writers where their inspiration comes from. So it just happens.
Yes.
Giant pint glass.
It does. The weirdest stuff just pops up at like all sorts of times.
Oh God, yeah.
One of my main projects right now is a dystopian series. I'm working on the first one, and this concept has been on my mind for at least 8 years.
Yeah.
So and that's the story that's been falling out of me and fun, and it's wonderful. But I had this major epiphany that I was seeking, and I got it while vacuuming, and it was just like,
There was a brilliant there was another. There's always brilliant cartoons. But there was person asking a writer, it's like, where do you get your ideas from? And it goes into her thought bubble, and it's just got a light bulb above a toilet. And then she just kind of goes, they just come to me, But the times when I've been either on the toilet or in the shower, and suddenly I'll go, a politician who organises a doomsday device. This is brilliant.
Yes.
And then I'll rush out the shower, offend my in-laws, and then just kind of go, well, writing. But yeah, it's one of the most common questions you get as a writer, I think. It's like, where'd you get your ideas? And you really want to kind of give this extravagant and wonderful answer about, well,
I was on the high mountains of elderware, and the stars were out, and when a dragon passed by near the fluffy trees. See, I lost it with fluffy.
Yeah.
And then shone down, and this single swan who looked at me, didn't say anything because it's a swan and swans don't talk, but it looked at me and it kind of said to me, "Go." And I was like, "Go where?" But then it sailed off. I went on a journey, and you kind of want to give that answer, but in reality, you want to go, "I was drunk." It seemed fun at the time.
Yep.
And it's funny now, so yeah, balls to it. But yeah, I think there's, and again, kind of going with social media, there's still this, and it's quite amusing really now that the curtain's been pulled back, but there's still this idea of the writer as the bohemian, as this, this elegant person who's like struggling on the poverty line, but they're creating art, damn it. They're creating
From
art.
their soul.
I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to be a writer. And I'm going to create. I'm going to tell stories that are going to mean something. And then there's the actual writers sitting there kind of going, I'm writing about a spaceman and his two-headed lizard friend. And it's fun. And what? But yeah, it's, oh, God. Like I say, this is the rant I was warning you about. But it's because there's so many writers now, which is a great thing. I think, literacy is. I think there was a time when all the politicians were saying it, both sides of the Atlantic. They were kind of going, kids today on their computer games and they're not reading books anymore, and it's all text speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now, especially when you've got massive franchises like the Hunger Games and Harry Potter and stuff like that, and then you've got the stuff for adults like, I'm going to shudder when I say this, but 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight, and you've got all these things which are getting people into reading, and it's fantastic because then they're wanting to create, they're wanting to tell their own stories, and you have to encourage that. But on the other hand, there's people who it's like, your story's lovely, but please stop.
Yeah. Well, it is great. I agree with the fact, there's so many writers. It's much easier theoretically to get your work out now. I mean, you have other options other than just, the big five.
Yeah.
But it's also quite flooded and very hard to groove, to put yourself in a comfortable spot is, it's war.
You need that unique selling point, and it's very, very difficult to find that, because even if you have it again goes back to what we were saying about marketing. You need a friend who knows a friend who knows a friend who can hook you up with this person who might give you an opportunity, and that might lead somewhere, and you might sell a book. and now and your listeners are probably seeing why most writers are a drink. Yeah, it's like poverty line, drinking. Oh, it's so bohemian. It's brilliant. I'm an artist. Damn it.
Yep. We got to go grab that liquid Christmas.
We do. I for those not in the know, we were discussing cinnamon whiskey on Twitter, and you referred to it as liquid Christmas.
Yes.
Which is a metaphor. I am now gonna. If you read my next book, it'll be in there somehow.
Nice. I wanted to catch on. Well, the first time I tried Fireball was last year during the Christmas season.
Fireball. Oh,
I know. And
it's just a wonderful blend.
It's really quite wonderful. And it's like, first shot, it was just like, tastes like Christmas.
It's that warming feeling as you can feel it go. It's not like a normal whiskey warming. It's just like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
I'm sure I was railing on Jack Daniel's Tennessee Fire one, saying that it tasted like mouthwash.
Oh man.
It reminds me of there's one I don't know if it's, I'm sure it is in America as well, called Red Stag, which is like a yeah. And me and a friend of mine who did some of my book covers, C.M. Carter. If you drink from a glass, it's horrible. It's absolutely disgusting. You drink it straight from the bottle, it's actually drinkable. It's actually nice.
Funny.
So yeah, it's that weird kind of It's like Coke in a can versus Coke in a glass bottle.
It is a completely different experience.
And it's wonderful, and I'm sure somebody who's listening to this is probably going to comment and do the whole scientific. Wow, the thing about Coke in a can and Coke in a glass bottle. It's like, look, we know we're not going to go on to it. It's fine. Everybody knows it's brilliant. Thumbs up. Thank you.
Well, beer's the same way. I mean, I personally don't like to drink it from a can at all. I prefer a bottle. I will drink it from a can, but it's it's not the experience that a bottle presents.
See, being a stereotypically English person myself, I stopped drinking lager ages ago. But now that you get all these craft lagers, and they're really bloody nice. So that's one thing you Yanks have done right, I will say that. But
I know we have a whole bunch of local breweries here and stuff, and you get like, cherry wood chip stuff, and it's wonderful.
I do like how there's the whole hipster thing, isn't it? The anti-hipster thing, which is like, yeah, with their artisan beers, like bacon infused rum chocolate.
I believe there's a restaurant in Seattle called that.
What? Bacon infused rum chocolate beer?
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like an awesome place to go.
Yeah.
But that's my point. It's like I mean, I work in obviously I'm not a full-time writer because otherwise I'd have a golden toilet. The pub that I work in England, any English people listening, go to the Bellevue in Wickham. It's a wonderful pub, and you might find me there sobbing into a pint of Guinness. And then you go, Ollie, you don't drink Guinness. It's like, I didn't want to sob into my own drink because then that would ruin the drink. Forward thing. But yeah, you'll have like the older, the more mature drinkers who will kind of see these craft beers and go, Bleh. And you want to go with them. You want to say, yeah, hipster bullshit. Shake my fist. Grr. And then you'll try and go, bloody hell, that's nice. That's really good. Like, all right, wrap a Foster's logo or like an old Mangle ale, which I don't think it's an ale, but it should be. But yeah, it's become this weird thing where, and it's very much in writing as well. I rail on like E.L. James and 50 Shades and the rise of erotic literature and stuff like that. Actually, no, in the case of 50 Shades, I'm going to still rail on it because it is one of the most terrible. Right. Here's the thing about 50 Shades.
It makes me angry.
It makes me angry as well. But the thing is, when you criticize it, it's like anything that people go, no, you can't criticize it until you read it or try it or whatever. Because I'm a gamer as well, and Overwatch is the big thing at the moment.
Oh
yeah, and
I haven't played it, but yeah, my husband has it on his computer.
Yeah, I mean, it's Blizzard. Blizzard are very good. They're a great company. Warcraft, Diablo, Starcraft, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
And one of my friends was like, "Oh, Overwatch is brilliant. It's one of the best games ever." And everything I saw of it just made me think generic online first-person shooter. There's nothing that I see in it. But he was like, "You got to try it." So I did. I downloaded it. I played it on a free weekend. And it's still a generic online first-person shooter with classic that's been done before. But hey, if you like that sort of thing, good for you. I tried it. I enjoyed it. But I'm still firmly in my camp. 50 Shades. God no, did I want to read it. But I was in the library. I'd read a page or a chapter and like that. Oh my God, is it the worst? It's exposition, the novel.
Well, you know what's crazy? Because I didn't read it for the longest time, I'm a big fan of the Twilight books. I love them. The fact that 50 Shades of Grey is structured exactly like Twilight is just crazy to me.
And it's like an open secret. It used to be Twilight fan fiction. Everybody knows it used to be Twilight fan fiction, and like you say, you read it and you can go. I can see the story beats here, and the characters. You just change the name, and yet it's still obscenely popular.
I know.
And you kind of go, again, it goes to that thing of like, I'm creating art, and it's like you wait for that person who's like, I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm creating something with a message, and you wait for them for their big, meaningful novel to get it out there and to see it beaten by a bit of slap and tickle that used to be a Twilight fan fiction. And then the other thing that absolutely pisses me off, just in terms of its laziness, I think it's Seth Grahame Smith's work, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Yeah, that's another one.
And stuff like that. Now, again, genre fans rave about it. They say it's really funny, it's really good.
Well, see, and I fall into that category because I love zombies, post-apocalyptic, anything. I will pick it up, and chances are I will enjoy it purely because I want to.
Well, that's the same with me.
This book made me so mad.
What, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies?
Yes. And the other one.
Well,
I mean, it's a. Oh, you haven't read it?
No, I have. I started reading it. Okay. I haven't finished it. I should say that. I'll hold my hands up again. I started reading it, didn't finish it. But as I started reading it, I'm kind of going, this is just Pride and Prejudice with the word zombie randomly inserted.
Yes.
Somewhere. This is not a book. This is taking the text and going, search, as we've all done with as writers, going Control F, the word courtesan, replace with zombie.
Mm-hmm.
And that is all that book is. I think I read recently he's actually been sued by his publishing company or something like that for basically doing the same thing. And you're kind of going, only just found out the gimmick.
Seriously? What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I swear I read something.
Like, suing him. That's crazy.
It was like a sequel to Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Okay.
He was like, he's been hired to do that. Yes, it was in. Here it is. This is the handy thing about kind of technology these days. You can suddenly just pick up your phone and kind of go, yes, I'm just going to.
I would never be able to answer any questions my kids ask me without being able to do that.
Oh, please look up a cartoonist called Stephen Collins who did a cartoon similar to that.
Oh, I will. Stephen Collins?
Stephen Collins, Stephen with a PH.
Okay.
So Stephen. But yeah, he did something where dad's like looking up at the constellations with his kid, and his kid says something like, what's that star over there? And it zooms into the dad's head and it's like, dad knowledge. And it's like, just pick up random thing over there. And he's like, well, that planet is Zeus, the god of war. And then he's like, and then you can see just at the bottom of the frame, the kid's face light up with a phone, and dad's just going, don't Google that. And it's just awesome. That perfect bit of comedy. But yeah, I've got it in front of me here. Publishing giant Hachette is taking author Seth Grahame Smith to court over latest manuscript they say is in large part an appropriation of a 120-year-old public domain work.
Oh, wow.
And I read that and kind of just went, all his work is an appropriation of an old work.
Yeah.
This is not new. This is so yeah. As one of these writers who's writing for the passion for the art, I just give that up straight away because you're going to be crushed. Do it for the money.
Yeah, that's it. That's why I do it.
I love it when people say to me, "It's like, oh, Oli, you're not writing for the money." It's like, money's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't write my books to make money. But I want my books to make money because then I'll have money and I'll have the time to write more books.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, totally for the art, darling, and jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz.
I can't, I mean, the sheer need to do it is why it all is here. But
oh, God, yeah. There's the thing
but
is,
I'm attempting to, I'm working at it full time right now. So I'm attempting to rub some sticks together and grow a money tree.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it did sound cynical then. I will admit that I don't write my stories with the view of this is going to make me tens of pounds.
Oh, no, I didn't think of it was cynical. I was agreeing with you, but I mean, it is, I want to make money with my writing. That's, it's what I do best. It's my only marketable skill.
I think this is going back to the marketing thing of like, oh God, I don't want to seem like I'm just a capitalist hack. Backtrack, kind of give a justification. Well, I also do it for the art as well. And it's just like, this man has no opinions. He's just everything. Let's appoint him president. And that was how I became president.
Well, there's a saying. There's a saying I really like, and it's that you can do the typical you can do whatever you want.
Oh yeah.
Well, you don't always get to choose what you want.
Exactly. They said I could be anything, so I became a cloud. Look that meme up later, kids. But yeah, it's. I mean, I started off really interested in film. That was my, if you or however that word's pronounced. But that was what I loved film. I still love film to this day. I'm a massive fan of Kubrick and David Fincher and Hitchcock, that sort of thing. Really typical film student people that you like. And I wanted to get into films. And funnily enough, underneath used to be a film script. One of the books I'm writing at the moment used to be a film script. I desperately wanted to make films, and I made films for a little bit. I had a YouTube channel, and I was, reading out the work. But
oh wow,
I hated it though. I absolutely hated it because I had all the scripts. I had about 20, 30 little short film scripts, and these were all with having no money in mind. So I used to boast about being a zero budget filmmaker. But it was finding the people. With a film, you can't. There's only so much you can do on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, I was getting so stressed. So it was affecting my mental health. And that was when I turned around and I basically went, I'm going to write a book instead. And I'd already written quite a lot of short stories. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to bundle them together in a collection, release them, see how that goes. And the rest, they say, is history.
Yeah, you do. You have a lot. You have done a lot of short stories as well as novels. I noticed that you have quite a wide range of both.
I'm one of these people that, because when another question that writers get is, what do you write? And I'm always tempted to turn around and go, books. Because it's like, what genre do you write? I'm like, I don't know. I write everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think my usual answer is short. I basically list the books in my mind and reel off. So like short story, sci-fi comedy, horror, mystery, Bad Sandwich. And they're like, what's Bad Sandwich? Like, you really have to read Bad Sandwich. I can't explain it to you. I was drunk. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Now it's just insanity. Which was weird when it started getting good reviews. I was thinking, this is just madness. I think I got a 1-star review for it recently. I thought this person actually has figured it out by realizing that it's just incomprehensible blathering. I should say now that actually I do like Bad Sandwich. It's just to kind of fill in the blanks. It's a stream of conscious novel about a man who has a bad sandwich, goes to complain, meets a sentient mold of jelly, and is sent off on a quest to find this thing called Zaz. And
that sounds like a lot of fun to write.
Oh, like I say, I joke that I say that I wrote it when drunk. I wasn't that drunk. I was definitely I was after a point where I was like, I don't care about being popular or being readable or making money. I just want to write a story, and that's how Bad Sandwich came about. And it is just this pure stream consciousness. Barely edited, there's sentence run-ons, there's made-up words. And when I did the paperback, I decided to kind of put that madness in visual form. So I changed the fonts. I made some words bigger and in bold or italicized or in black and white, and that was fun to do. I must admit, that was fun to do.
I was listening to you explain it. That sounds fun, to just go into a Word document and be like, take this.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it was. It was, I know the story. I know what's happening. I'm literally going to write it, see what comes out the head, and go from there. So it's like you have evil puppets that pop up, which is
that's
brilliant.
terrifying.
You have wise dogs who take you into a world of fabric, banana cowboys, communist. Is it communist robots? There's some sort of robot in there playing poker naturally, and it's all. I think it all ties in at the end. And I think I did. I don't want to give away what happens in the end, but there's almost this element of if you read through it, and I know people who've read through it and stopped halfway, like not read it for a week, gone back and gone, I can't get back into this because it's so incomprehensible. But I think somebody called it a word salad or something like that. It's pure speaking in tongues where like a bot algorithm gone wrong. But then at the end, if you reach the end, there's like a couple of lines which make you go, ah, well,
That sounds awesome.
I can send you a copy if you want.
Please do.
It's the thing is, like I say, it loses something on Kindle because it just literally is blocks of text. The paperback, which I would thoroughly encourage you to purchase, but I'll send you. I'll send you a copy. Sorry, I'm indulging in alcohol now.
I would if it wasn't morning by me.
Well, it's 7:20 in England, so
yeah, no. 7:20 here, I'm usually at least 1 or 2 in.
Well, I need to go shopping later as well, so that's going to be more fun when drunk. So I'll probably buy half of the supermarket, which my bank will hate. But at the time, it'll be awesome.
Yep.
So, why do you need 10 packs of donuts? Because everything. That's why. Donuts. 10 packs of donuts will give us. Let's see, there's 4 donuts in the palace, 40 donuts, which can fit 4 pairs of hands. Like, Ollie, I like your logic, but you're insane. But no, going back to, do you see what I mean about tangents?
I was talking great. About, this is good.
Writers, and suddenly I'm talking about putting donuts on 4 people's fingers. This isn't even a choice on their matter. They're being
donutted.
They're being donutted. This is a terrible time. This is the hot new fad that kids are going to do. They're going to go to the shops, they're going to buy donuts, and they're going to put them on people's fingers. And like Fox News are going to say this is a terrible thing. It's all Obama's fault. And then the BBC are going to be like, no, it's a terrible turn of events. Here's Sherlock. And other stereotypes about news companies and so on and so forth. But yes, to round back to my point, I write a bit of everything in my stories.
Yeah. Well, I do that too. I can't take one genre and be like, I'm such and such author. I write what I write, and then
you write what you. It's that thing, this old adage of you write what you'd want to read, or what seems interesting to you. I mean, my latest book, Wrapped Up in Nothing, is a noir mystery, and I've never written that before. I've never written a noir mystery. I really wanted to. I had the idea. Thought it was a really good idea, so I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna write it. And I've done horror in the past. I'm doing horror again. Lots of my short stories revolve around horror, but also comedy. Kirk Sandblaster, sci-fi comedy. I may go back to that at some point. We'll see. Yeah, it's you write the story that inspires you effectively. At the end of the day, you don't write. You could write on demand, and one of the worst pieces of advice I got was you don't write for yourself, you write for audiences, and I thought that was such a terrible mentality.
That is terrible. Well, there has to be a connection there for it to be any good, I feel like.
Well, that person's rich and I'm not, so they know better than me. But yeah, it is one of those things where, like, the Bad Sandwich is the perfect example of something I wrote without worrying about genres, without worrying about audience or anything like that. I just wrote it, was happy with it. Not so happy with the translation I did of it because somebody asked me to, but then I deleted that and that's out of print now. But yeah, in general, you can't. if you stick to one thing, you will either, like, to give the example, if I wrote purely Kirk Sandblaster stories, which is my sci-fi comedy series, I've got the ideas, I've got loads of story ideas for that. I'd get incredibly bored, the quality would suffer, and then I'd just throw it in the trash, and that would be it. It would be gone. So you have to mix it up with, short stories. You're going to have a little bit of comedy in there, a little bit of horror, a little bit of fantasy. I'm not a big fantasy writer, not a big fantasy reader either. As you probably guessed, I'm more of a horror person.
Yes.
Stephen King, craft, that sort of thing. I tried writing fantasy, and I thought it was quite cool. But I think the worrying thing I have with fantasy, and I do have a couple of ideas that are in that genre, but I worry that I'll fall to tropes.
Yes.
That I will do the sword, sandals, there's elves, there's orcs, there's a dragon, and I'd rather leave it to more talented fantasy writers such as yourself.
Well, I have a dragon in mind, but
but you understand the genre.
Yeah, well, I do. Yeah. Actually, this is the Shadow Bears that I have in the contest right now that I've co-written it with Rebecca, and this is my first high fantasy, and I was worried that too. Like, I would check myself and be like, okay, let's not put the bad guys in towers.
Yeah.
But it's fun in the sense of, like, I can just make shit up, and it's like, yep, this is what they eat.
I mean, I have that with Kirk Sandblaster, where you're creating a whole new universe, a whole new galaxy. There's like hundreds of planets and hundreds of races. I mean, I always make sure to introduce at least 5 in each Kirk Sandblaster book. I always make sure to introduce at least 5 new alien beings in there.
That's awesome. Well, I was looking at those. That looks like just a ton of fun.
Oh God, it is. When it's on, it's on, and it is. I wish more people discovered it and more people read it, because it's one of my favourite ones to write. I've written. I never can get that right. Written. Is done. I think there's 8 stories that I've done so far. 4 have been released. Tell a lie. 4 have been released. 3 are to be released, and 1 is to be started. And then, right, this is how far in advance I plan. And I was talking about the list earlier. Basically, with Kirk Sandblaster, I've thought of 3 seasons, as it were, with 8 books in each.
Oh, and wow.
I could probably tell you what happens in each season, quote unquote season, and possibly what happens in each of the 8 books. But we'll see if the readership's there. Fantastic. It's basically somebody asked CM Carter, who did the covers that you'll see on Amazon and stuff.
They're awesome covers.
Oh, they're
awesome.
A great art. CM Carter is a brilliant artist. It's breakfastchampion.com. If any of you, I would heartily recommend their work. I'm
going to check that out. No, they're awesome. They're really nice.
You should. They are one of the most talented artists I know. I also work with, if I'm giving Cara a shout out, I'll also give a quick shout out to Elaine Will, who's a Canadian graphic novelist, who did the cover for Wrapped Up in Nothing.
Okay.
And is potentially taking over the covers for Kirk Sandblaster as well. But she's a great artist as well. She did a great graphic novel on mental health called Look Straight Ahead.
Oh, I have to look. I want to look at that.
Look Straight Ahead. It is one of the best graphic novels on the subject of mental health that I've ever read. It is quite simply that good. She's done a load of like Canadian orientated work, like Saskatchewan, which she's done with her partner Mark Allard. She's just done one called Dust Ship Glory, I believe. That's a recent release. But she goes to a lot of the comic conventions, especially ones in Canada. So I'd recommend yourself and your listeners to check her out. Like I say, also check out CM Carter, Breakfast Champion. They do a lot of zine work, a lot of kind of like they're like me. They're the best artist you've never heard of. And they've done a lot of like album covers, a lot of book covers, like say for myself. Basically, Carter did all the covers with the exception of Bad Sandwich and Wrapped Up in Nothing.
Oh,
And Filming 5.
wow.
They
Well,
basically did.
I will always take both artist and graphic novel recommendations, so thank you.
Yes. So yeah, quick shout out for them. I do have this thing as well where if I'm doing I forget to kind of plug my own stuff, but I'll plug everybody else's. It's like because I have this thing you should pay it forward. If you know great authors who you feel should get a lot more attention. Like I said, I mentioned him earlier, Jason Arnott. He's done a book called The Last Days of Jack Sparks, which is probably the best modern horror book I've read in the last 10, 15 years.
Oh, wow. What's that title?
The Last Days of Jack Sparks. Sparks being Sparks.
Okay.
It's quite simply, it's brilliant. It's so well done. It's basically about a journalist who's doing a book on the supernatural, kind of gets in over his head, and he's telling the stories that it's very Lovecraftian.
Ooh.
In the way it's done, because it's like unreliable narrator and insanity. It's basically The Exorcist meets Lovecraft.
That sounds awesome.
Is how I pitch it. It's absolutely brilliant, and of course Dane Cobain as well. Great writer. No Rest for the Wicked. I really enjoyed. That was also.
I enjoyed that as well.
There was lots of moments to it which I was kind of like, that's just brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a really good way to kind of, like I say, it's about taking the tropes and kind of turning them upside down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just go off on these. It's like, Ollie, promote yourself. Well, I'll promote myself after I've promoted so and so and so and so and so and so and so.
Well, this is actually
time.
Well, it's actually it's gearing up for perfect timing because it's about that time. So I was gonna say, Ollie, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Everybody can find me on Amazon if you look up Oli Jacobs. That's OLIJACOBS. Key works include Filmic Cuts, Kirk Sandblaster, and the Mr. Blank book, the latest one, Wrapped Up in Nothing. That's all on Amazon. You can also go to my website where I post lots of rough work. That is, I think, olijacobsauthor.wordpress. Yes, olijacobsauthor.wordpress.com. Like me on Facebook, facebook.com/OJBooks. Follow me on Twitter @OliJacobsAuthor. And yeah, buy every single book. Buy them all.
Do it.
Sorry?
I said do it. Buy them all.
Yes, buy them all. I sell my Kindle books fairly cheap. I think it's $1.99 is the most you're going to, in pounds, I should say, is the most you're going to, I think in dollars it's like $2.99 because economy.
Yes.
But yes, Twitter @OliJacobsAuthor, Facebook.com/OJBooks, olijacobsauthor.wordpress.com, and if you're on Amazon, just search Oli Jacobs or Kirk Sandblaster or Filmic Cuts or Bad Sandwich, of course.
Do it up, guys. Well, Ollie, thank you so much for coming on. It was so fun talking to you.
It's been a pleasure. It's really nice to talk to somebody else about writing, and yes, it's been brilliant.
It is always nice to talk because it's a very isolating, or it can be a very isolating gig. So to talk to other writers and find out that we're all crazy, it's nice.
We're usually scurried away under rocks if people want to find us.
Don't turn the lights on too quick.
Light, natural light. What is this? And then our eyes melt, and it's just horrible for everybody, quite frankly.
Well, guys, that wraps it up. It was awesome having Ollie on the show. Be sure to check him out, pick up his books. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter @MeBettingfield. Follow the show on Twitter @TooManyWordsPod. Same thing on Facebook. You can read my column in the Matters of Kindness on Feminine Collective. And of course, pre-order the Shadowbearers on inkshares.com. And for everything else and in between, go to my site, jamiebettingfield.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.